The 3 count question of the week.
Are you serious?
It's better if we just restarted. WrestleMania Moments. WWE released their list of the top 38 WrestleMania moments of all time. So I thought, why don't we give our top 38? No. Why don't we give our top 5 WrestleMania moments of all time? I can highlight some of the moments from WWE's list as we go through as well. Why don't we just want to go around and give ours one at a time? How would you guys like to do this?
Yeah, let's make this segment longer than it should be.
Oh my God, I fucking hate you so much. Sometimes, Ryan. All right, Ryan, give us your number 5.
What do you got, Smokey?
Good to see you're not delaying and making this.
My internet's fucking up.
And it belong. Yeah, okay. Blame the internet.
Now he's frozen.
I will go.
Thank you,
Look at
Tim.
Smokey. Look at him. That's what you get, Smokey. That's what you
I
get.
will go
I
first.
pissed off Jim and I lost my internet. Son of a bitch.
See how that works?
You see
I will
it?
go first.
It works.
Tim,
Go ahead, Tim.
Just
Please.
go, Tim.
I will go the reunion of the Macho Man, Randy Savage, and Miss Elizabeth at WrestleMania 7.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
That's a
After the career-ending match, Sherry starts putting the boots to the Macho Man, and Miss Elizabeth has had enough. She jumps the rail, stands by her man, and they reunite, leading us to the match made in heaven at SummerSlam. Such a great moment.
That was number 8 on the WWE's list. Number 8. Mark, you want to give yours? Your number 5?
My number 5. I like anything that had to do with Kane and Pete Rose. Pete Rose. Pete Rose. Pete Rose. Especially when he was dressed up like that San Diego bird.
I thought my number 5 was going to be the most ridiculous, and I'm thankful for you, Mark. I appreciate it.
That's why we don't pay him.
That was a great moment.
Ridiculous.
I'll never forget when Kane grabbed that San Diego bird, then he ripped the head off, and it was Pete Rose. And then he proceeded to tombstone that bird. And left him laying there, limping around, flopping around like a chicken without a head. That bird,
Like
that big bird.
bird.
And he was laying there flopping around like a dead bird. Dead bird. Dead bird. Remember that time John Rank returned his parakeet because it died? He took it
One of
back
these
to,
days, we're going to ask you a question. You're going to answer it.
You guys remember Dr. Pet Center at Park City?
All right, so my number 5 was the Mickey James licking in between the fingers before going for the slap on Trish Stratus, just because it's now been removed from all footage. Learned that today. You can find it on YouTube, folks, but not on the cock.
I'm sorry, which moment was that?
This was at 22 when Mickey James was wrestling Trish Stratus.
Ah.
Hey!
The grab.
Ryan. That one didn't make WWE's list, by the way. Neither did
Shocking.
Neither did the San Diego chicken. Just in case we didn't know, it did not make the top.
Well,
30.
Jim, that really ruffles my feathers.
Fucking hate it.
Why? Why? Oh my God!
I thought
Ryan.
that was an excellent moment.
Jesus.
I guess the yoke's on me, isn't it?
Get him. No, mute him.
Tim, don't do it.
And this is, you encourage him with your laughter.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Matt. Your number.
Help it,
Ryan, you're number 5.
Hi. Yeah, my number 5. And maybe it's because I don't know, I was there to see it live, but I can't even with Mark. The WrestleMania 35 main event. The ladies finally get to main event, although the finish was a bit screwy. And I think that's why it would probably just rank 5th on my list. But I think that's a really big moment. Charlotte, Flair, and Becky Lynch, all the bouts, triple threat, winner take all match. I think that was that's a pretty big moment in the history of pro wrestling, and to see it live was pretty cool, and the ovation that that the fans gave to Becky Lynch when she won. I think it was, like I said, a great moment for the history of wrestling and for women to come. It was really opened the door for ladies to continue to do everything the boys can do.
The WWE had Becky winning the first women's main event as their number 4 on their list. My number 5 is from that same WrestleMania, but a match earlier in the night. It was Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship. I think any other year, if it weren't for the women's title main eventing, I think if that moment closes out the show, it is arguably up there with maybe the top. But yeah, for me, Kofi Mania was such an awesome moment for the New Day, for Kofi Kingston. And in WWE history, that one the WWE had at number 7 on their list. So, Tim, you want to give us your number 4?
So my number 4, I didn't know if I wasn't sure if I was doing these in order or not.
Well, I mean, give us
That's fine.
another
I will
one.
give you
don't
another one.
necessarily have to put them in order.
I will go with the greatest cash-in WrestleMania history. Seth Rollins standing tall, swinging that belt at WrestleMania Play after cashing in successfully on Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at 31.
I had this as my number 3. The WWE had it as their number 2 on their list.
Ooh, that's high praise.
Yeah, that's it's up there. So I will skip that one when I get to that one on mine. Is Mark out of time out yet?
No.
We're just gonna go to you, I guess. Maybe he's Mark.
He looks like he's getting tuckered out.
I'm a little tuckered out. God dog, I'll tell you what. I was upset.
Mark, can you give us your tread lightly, but can you give us your number 4 WrestleMania moment?
You guys remember when who was it? I can't remember his name. What's his name? He called his mama and he was dancing, and all the mamas came out.
Brodus Clay.
That's it, Brodus Clay.
Oh my
God,
God,
boy, that was a heck of a moment, but I didn't make my list.
Oh, it didn't make the list.
Now,
Okay.
if you said top 6, it would be on there, but we're doing top 5.
Your honorable mention.
It's an honorable mention because I'll never forget that. What a moment!
I had just forgotten it, and now it's back in my brain.
Darn
It's
it.
a good moment. Well, I had Roddy Piper chasing Dick Clark around the ring at WrestleMania 1 was close, but I'm going to go with.
Can you actually give us one that's on your list, please?
Daniel Bryan won the championship there in the main event, and the entire Pontiac Silverdome was going yes. It was the Silverdome, right? That's what Hogan said.
Brother. Yeah, close enough. I also had that one. That was at the top of my list. I think it was
good.
just early. It was right at the beginning of our time as a podcast. I think I was like peak into my back into wrestling deal, and so that was number 1 on mine. WWE had that as 15 on theirs.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
he's an AEW guy now.
That's true. That is true.
Could be it, Mark.
We'll
that
go
was
over
number 4 on my list.
Okay, yeah, we'll go over some of the ones on WWE's list as well, and we'll see if they were too high, too low. But Matt, we'll go to yours. Your next one.
So my moment was from the same Mania that Tim mentioned with Seth Rollins, but it was the RKO that we saw coming off the curb stomp earlier in the night. I think is one of the best that we've ever seen, and I think kind of started the RKO out of nowhere.
Kinda, yeah.
It's like the starting off point that he started to hit like more ridiculous RKOs.
Right,
Randy Orton.
My number 4 was Mark's.
Okay, yeah, my I had one mentioned as well. Tim, we'll go around to you again.
I'm gonna go number 3 on my list. I will go with, and this is a really solid moment as well. The boyhood dream.
Okay.
WrestleMania 12, Shawn beating Brett, not in an Iron Man match, but in a 3-minute match afterwards. Couldn't get it done in 60, got it done in 63. But that moment of Shawn on his hands and knees holding the WWF title, it's a solid moment.
WWE had that at 5 on theirs. Mark, dear God, dare I ask, your next
All right,
one.
number 3, you guys already talked about. I had Rollins cashing in the Money in the Bank, of course.
Okay. All right, Matt.
That's number 3.
My number 3 is actually the same as Tim's.
Okay. Ryan.
That was an honorable mention for me. The Seth Rollins cash in as well. I wanted to put that up there. My number 3 is Kofi Mania. I think that was a bigger moment than the ladies main eventing at 35. Being there was really such a treat. The feeling in the crowd of that many people knowing that you're watching like a magic moment in the history of professional wrestling. The crowd was electric. It was awe-inducing. It really was a great moment to witness live. So I hate to use two like that I was physically there for, but again, the emotion that you could feel in that moment in the entire MetLife Stadium was phenomenal, except for Hulk Hogan. He probably didn't care about it.
Oh.
Everybody else,
Well,
though,
let me tell
really,
you something,
really.
dude.
Why not? I'll give
Hogan was very pouty face in the back, I heard. But the moment's going to go down in history. And that's a huge moment.
But and Big Dick Devin was there for that match. He was excited. He knocked the poor kid out of the third row.
He had to go to the bathroom during that match, he said.
I'll give another one off of mine, 'cause I only have 2 left on mine. This one because Daniel Bryan winning, Seth cashing in, was already mentioned, but another one from WrestleMania 30, Brock Lesnar ending the Undertaker streak. I mean that to 21-0, and I think the shock of it kind of still rings true, and there's still debates to this day of whether or not it should have been Lesnar, whether or not the streak should have ended, and all of that. But just it's a all-time moment when you're talking about WrestleMania, and actually on the WWE's list, that is their number 1 WrestleMania moment. Tim, another one off of yours.
Yeah, I don't have that on my list at all as moment, but that is also fine. What's going to be number 2 for me is at WrestleMania 17, the spear off the ladder onto Jeff Hardy.
Okay.
Maybe the most physically impressive spectacle-ish thing in WrestleMania history, I would say. Like it's high up there of like cool shit done at WrestleMania.
Number 10 on WWE's list was that spear. Intern Mark.
I almost had that on the list, but if I would have had 7, that would have been number 7. So I forget what I put. Let me look at my notes here. I wrote down notes. Oh, I had we just talked about the Undertaker and the streak ending. Boy, I wasn't happy about that moment, but it was a moment. I remember sitting here in the beautiful hot United States, and when the house was full, and when the Undertaker was defeated, the energy in this house was just sucked right out of it. It was terrible. So sad.
So sad.
It was sad.
Matt.
My number 2 is Kofi Mania.
All right, Ryan.
My number 2 was Brock Lesnar defeating The Undertaker at 30 as well. So I will, yeah, that was it.
Okay. My number 2 was a moment that I was not alive for, but or wasn't watching for. WrestleMania 3. Hogan slamming Andre, defeating Andre. It's a moment that lives through like WrestleMania all time. And I mean, when I made the list, like I didn't necessarily like put them in the maybe the total sequential order, so maybe that one would be lower if I numbered them. But it would definitely be in my top 5. I think that Mania was critical to the success of WrestleMania as a whole and for WWE. So, Tim.
My number 1 is Kofi Mania. There's nothing else I can really say about it. Such a fantastic moment. I know that Ryan, you and Mark got to witness it live.
We were holding hands. It was a moment.
I cried. Like, there's a couple of moments. Like, the only other time I actually cried at WrestleMania was Taker's send off at 33. But Kofi Mania meant so much to so many people, more than even me, and I'm a big baby and I cry at everything. So Kofi Mania, number 1 moment of all time.
All right,
Tim, are you crying at this WrestleMania?
I will be crying at night 2, hour 2, when I realize I've still got another 2+ hours of wrestling to watch before I can even think to record a podcast for another 45 minutes talking about both nights of this horrible 2-night experience.
This checks out.
Intern Mark, you're number 1.
So my number 1 was I remember we went to Big Jim Painter's house, and Big Jim Painter was getting the WrestleMania on pay-per-view. That was WrestleMania 3, not 2, but 3. And when Hulk Hogan went and picked up Andre the Unbelievable Giant, I mean, that man was 7'5", 500+ pounds. And when Hogan slammed him right there in the Silver Dome, and he dropped that leg, the roof came off Big Jim Painter's house. Thank God for his homeowner's insurance. But it was that was something to behold. I don't know that there'll be another moment that'll be my most favorite like that was. I was just a little intern back then.
Hogan slamming Andre was number 3 on WWE's list.
Well,
it's okay.
I'd like to hear what Andre has to say about that.
I went with a personal favorite for mine, and that was Eddie Guerrero winning the title at 20. Just because that moment, I think, has always been one of my favorites. Especially, I know WWE doesn't like to talk about it, but the moment at the end of the night with Bowflex 2, I think, was a huge moment, and one that, even though what happened needs to be overshadowed, it was still a really cool moment when it did happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
I was with Ryan watching that one at college, and he actually cried at that moment, I believe. Memory serves.
That. Yeah.
Ryan, you're number 1.
But did he scream like a little girl too?
No, the power didn't go out. Power didn't go out the door.
He was
number 1, Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's a moment in WrestleMania history that's as big as Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant. It's a moment that, if you talk about biggest moments of all time in professional wrestling, this moment, not match, this moment has to be included in that. I think that is
Hulk Hogan,
the biggest. Hulk Hogan,
the Hulk Hogan,
not half Hogan. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, my number one was, like I said, was Daniel Bryan winning the title at WrestleMania 30. Let's see, Devin, his number one. I'm gonna assume this is a Facebook thing with the weird emoji things. He's Kofi Mania 1, WrestleMania 2, Edge Spears and Mick Foley through a flaming table 3. Undertaker's entrance at WrestleMania 29 was his 4. I think he was there for that one as well. It's probably a pretty cool moment to see live. And Edge spearing Jeff Hardy out of the air was his.
What was his entrance at 29? That was Mania in New York, right?
Yeah, wasn't that like
the hands coming up?
Hands coming up out of the thing, and let's see. So let's look at the rest of the top 10 that we didn't hit from WWE's list. Was number 6.
Did you guys have honorable mentions?
I didn't, actually. As hard as that is to believe.
Shocking.
That is, I know that is actually shocking. I think it I'm Sorry I Love You, Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair would probably be an honorable mention for me. I mean, it's a show, but it's also a moment. I think the Performance Center Mania, like, just because of like how weird everything was at the time and the idea of WrestleMania in an empty fucking warehouse, basically. But like, I remember how great I felt just checking out of the world for 2 nights and watching that show. So that would be an honorable mention for me as well. Did you have a couple honorable mentions, Ryan?
I mean, the one was the Seth Catchin, but I'm Sorry I Love You. Has to be there, and it's one of those things like when the WWE wants to do something really freaking good, they know how to deliver great camera work and like letting a moment be what it is with not 1,000 camera cuts, but the close up on Sean's face, the emotion of Ric Flair's children, a Ashley Flair sighting before Charlotte was there. It was what a moment. That really was a great moment.
Absolutely. Matt, do you have any?
I did have the ladder match between HBK and Razor Ramon at 10 on mine, but not necessarily like a moment, just a really good match.
All right. Mark, I think you covered yours in your ramblings earlier. Tim, did you have any honorable mentions?
No, I did not.
Okay. Rounding out the only other one in the top 10, WWE's top 10 we didn't cover, was Rey Mysterio wins for Eddie Guerrero.
Wait, nobody had the Rock and Eric Rowan match in their top 10.
No, I guess that would have been my third honorable mention, but I didn't want to like take too many.
Don't overdo it.
I didn't want to take too many honorable mentions there. Number 38. Look, I get what they're doing here, but number 38, Roman Reigns defeating the Undertaker. Well, I guess defeating the Undertaker and with the Undertaker's retirement, because it's not really the match. I guess it's the moment itself. Was their 38. There's.
I would argue the moment on Raw was bigger than that match was for Roman Reigns.
Right, like I feel like the aftermath of the match should have been the moment. Not Roman winning. Matt,
isn't that the match where like Taker couldn't get him up in like the tombstone? Like that was not a good match.
No, it was real bad. It was real bad. I can't fucking believe it. I can't believe I missed this. Mark, Kane attacks Pete Rose was number 31 on.
And everybody scoffed at me having that for number 5. You're a bunch of scoffers.
The Undertaker returns. I'm assuming they mean WrestleMania 20, not the year after WrestleMania Roller Coaster. That was number 13. But yeah, you can check out the list. I believe it's on WWE's YouTube page from last week.
Did anything from the pandemic era end up on that list, like the Boneyard match? Is that an entry?
I
Or the
don't.
Firefly Funhouse as a moment?
No,
was
no.
good.
There's
That was
nothing.
Huh.
There's nothing from that era. I like because I've had it on in the background while working on stuff. Like some of the matches on the 2 nights of that Mania were actually they still hold up. It's weird. It's really weird now to go back and watch it, but that Mania holds up pretty good still.
That was before Thunderdome, right? That was
Yeah, that was
literally
Performance Center. That was like 3 weeks into like the pandemic for real. So
a wild time.
it just absolutely unreal.